this is hard. David and I'm part of the IBM group, and many of you from Speedway and the Swimmer Open and everything that I have met so many of you over the years, I can just sense the feel of closeness that I so admired with David and his loyalty to his friends, and it's apparent today. It's very tough to be up here. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about my portion with David, and that here I am, a young man that joined the IBM company in January 1973, and that's when I met David. And there were those in that branch office, and you can't imagine, we have some guys here that on this side of the room and down in this side of the room that were part of the branch office. Of course, Richie was there before I was there. We had a closeness and camaraderie that you just can't even imagine. It was together, and there was a closeness and respect that I had never felt before. So here I am, 1973, a young sales guy, walks into the branch office, and I meet Barb Armstrong, Roger Phelps, Laramie Clark, Jay Jennings, Bill Sutton, Sonny Sanders, and many, many others that I had all the respect in the world. And being a little older than most of the IBM guys that were being hired, they were so kind to take me in and mentor me. And I needed a lot of mentoring. I'll never forget, of course, David never coming short of a joke. Here I am from West Virginia, and he always told me, he said, Ron, you know, I gotta buy you your first pair of shoes. Because we ran up and down the hillsides with one leg shorter than the other. So anyhow, so I came from Morgantown, West Virginia, and how I was able to join the company was that he and I had a good friend, and his name was Ron Pettit. And Ron Pettit came from Morgantown, West Virginia, and he was the high management in one of his clothing stores, and he was a customer, and we were golf buddies, and then we were social friends. And Ron was the client exec to IBM for West Virginia University. And during all the 4.5 years that I was in Morgantown, Ron tried to recruit me to come join the IBM company. Well, one Saturday, he comes up to me and he says, Ron, I'm leaving. I'm going to Indianapolis, Indiana, and I would love for you to join me. Well, I had hopes of owning my own clothing store. And that wasn't going to happen because I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have the money that Richie had. So anyhow, Ron introduced me to the branch manager, and we talked, and I started in December 1972. My first day at IBM was January the 1st, 1973. And we're in the branch office, and Richie knows that, and all the other office products division guys. You have to learn the products, and you have to do demonstrations, and David and Armstrong and all of those guys put up with my terrible demos to give me encouragement to be able to be successful in that venture. So I remember so vividly Doc taking me to lunch, and Roger and Bob and Bill Sutton were there, and they were kind enough, and we went to the big wheel, Roger, if you remember, if you could remember that, I remembered it, and they were kind enough to tell me as a young rookie, how should I manage my territory? How to go about getting those customers and winning their respect. And I do feel very, very grateful that I was able to say that I was a true IBM. So Then I came back from sales training. They send you off to Dallas for a month, and you come back and you get a territory, and the rest of it, you got to go make it happen. And so many times, we were such a close-knit group that the ultimate goal every year was to make the 100% club. And you didn't want to miss, because those that did not make it had to do all the install of typewriters for all the people that did go. And so that's the last thing you wanted to do. So anyhow, the IBM, as the Office products went about, IBM went through a lot of transformation. And I have to take this time in that during the 1973 time that I was hired, David invited me to play in the Swimmer Open, and that was my very first one. Now, I don't know how many I played with, but probably 45 or 50, whatever it was. And I do have to say, one of my proudest moments was in 1974. I won it. so back then they gave me this big trophy and everything, and I was up on cloud nine. So I was a very, very happy camper. At this time, I do have to say a very, very special thank you to Roger Phelps. That Roger and I were put as a team, and I was the young rookie. But he and David and Bob Armstrong took enormous time to help me learn how to manage very, very large, complex accounts. And without their guidance and their mentoring, I don't know that I would be where I am today. So I have a huge thank you to Roger that is here today. Well, let's get back to Doc. I'm not sure how many branch reps knew how he became the doctor. So nobody's talked about that yet, but I will tell you. He was such a good salesperson that he had Indiana University, hospital, medical center, and the IU campus as a territory. And he was the account exec. He was there so often and always dressed to the nines that everybody on staff, nurses and otherwise, knew that he was a doctor. They just assumed that he's there so often that he had to be the doctor. So they came out to say, okay, what kind of doctor are you? Gynecology. So now you know the true story of how David became the doctor. I'll go back to the branch office again and the IBM story behind it. We were such a tight-knit group that both together in the branch office and outside of work. The branch office had this incredible receptionist, Nora Johnson. Nora Johnson was about the most kind person that would take care of the senior reps. So about every Friday afternoon, Roger and myself and Doc and Laramie and Armstrong, we were on the golf course. And we were given these the first time that we had mobile phones. And so we would get a lot of phone calls because we had very large accounts. And Nora, answering the phone for all of us, would say, Doc Knoll, please. Well, he's in a meeting. Who's calling and whatever, or what about Ron Gress? Is he there? No. Well, how about Barbara Armstrong? No. Nora took care of us, and then she would call us on the golf course and say, you got a call that you got to take your turn. So that's how close we were. So there was Army and Doc and LJ, we were on the golf course. Nora handled all of those operations. She would call us and handle all that. Then there were the times that couple nights a week and most every Friday, we were either at Charlie and Barney's, Fridays, or the Mousetrap. And we'd be shooting pool or having a few drinks and whatever, and that's when you really got to know David. David was there, was the life of the party, and he was just fun to be around. But even going through all that, he had such a caring heart. And he just always looked out for others. An example, many of us, the key was to make 100% club. And once those guys got in, all the rest of us would go into the territories where people were not in the club, and we would go into their territories and help them sell, to help them get into the club. So that was a big thing for us. Later in my career, Doc and I, we were copier specialists, and we worked together very closely. And both of us were trying to compete with Galati. And he was the standard of the product, and we had outside territories, and David and I had to work enormously close so that we could back up and do demos for each other and just handle our accounts. He was always there for me. Every time that I had an issue, or if he had an issue, we were there to support each other. Well, time passed through, IBM changed, and of course when IBM, the company consolidated, and we were sent in different directions, for several years I didn't see much of David, other than the swimmer. And we so look forward to getting together, and to this day, every year that I went to the swimmer, meeting your mom and dad, and the honor and respect that you guys, your family had toward your mom and dad inspired me. So I want you to know the effect that you had on me. So the time came for us both to retire, and we saw the world. We had what the rest of us had in store for us. Thank goodness it included a much even closer relationship. We spent hours and hours on a golf course, and I enjoyed every minute of it. The laughter never stopped. The joking and harassing was part of the relationship. And how Marcel and I both, my wife, will never forget carrying your Christmas parties and the invite and the closeness that we got to see how close the family was. And I thank you for inviting us into your family. Doc and our relationship spanned over 50 years, and I can never thank him enough for his kindness, his generosity, and how we enjoyed each other. I've suffered through with him the entire time of his sickness. I prayed, and I asked God for help. And even as he went into remission for those years, how much he enjoyed being part of life again. But I'll never miss him and his contagious laughter and his enjoyment for life. My final words, God bless you, Doctor.